We're at Disneyland to catch you guys up on what's happening around the park. We're going to take a full tour. We're going to go to every land, look at every attraction. We're going to talk about the crowds, we're going to talk about the queues, and we're going to talk about what's new. This is our State of Disneyland report. Let's go to Disneyland and do my favorite thing. My favorite thing in the whole wide world of Disneyland. State of Disneyland report. State of any kind of state reports. Be that DCA, Knott's Berry Farm, Universal, you name it. I like to talk about what's happening in the park. It's my absolute favorite thing. It gives me so much joy to keep you guys up to date on what's happening right now in the parks as often as possible. Right now, the Dapper Dans are happening on Main Street. Actually, not in front of the fire department because that's under construction, under refurb. Stay tuned for our construction report on that. So we're out here in front of the Emporium. Before we get into talking about our first topic, and that is park accessibility, let's just take a walk down Main Street for a second to kind of set the mood, as it were, to see what's happening. You know, guys, look at this. I mean, this is something we haven't seen in a minute. That is guests. Those are guests waiting for a parade. That's your first news story, by the way, as we walk down Main Street. Magic Happens, if I'm not mistaken, is happening today. It returned today, this Friday, February 2nd. Magic Happens is going to be appearing again on Main Street, which is amazing. Well, one thing you'll notice on this Friday afternoon in February at 2:15, 2:16 p.m., as you can see by the clock up there, kind of busy here. The park has not really let up very much at all, if any, from the holiday season. Maybe a little bit, but I just still feel the same amount of, collective energy here than I would have in November and December. Am I right? I mean, maybe it's the folks, on lining the street here on Main Street that's adding to the density of the crowds here. It's giving it a little bit more of a pinched effect, like it's a little bit more narrow, perhaps, but still, this makes me happy to see guests showing up, as always. I love it when guests show up to Disneyland and participate in this wonderful thing, the magic and wonder of just being at Disneyland. It makes me happy that being here, all these folks are happy to be here. Let's go ahead, though, and get into park accessibility. How easy is it right now to get into Disneyland? As you might expect, in February, it's pretty easy. For that single-day ticket calendar, you're looking at a wide-open month for February. Now, this is in contrast to what we saw a couple weeks ago with the single-day ticket calendar, where there were days sold out. The current day, tomorrow, and the next day were sold out, which would not have been uncommon, let's say, during the holidays, but in January, completely surprised me. I did not see that coming. So that was really interesting, but that is not the case now in February as we begin this month. That's the way it should be. February, in my opinion, should be wide open. Let's look at the Magic Key calendar. This looks pretty standard for me. Inspire Key today is sold out. You cannot get a reservation for today, nor can you get one for Saturday, but you can for Sunday. Keep that in mind. We're going to get into that. But otherwise, it's pretty typical. You got a sold out Saturday on the 10th. You got a sold out Sunday on the 11th and 18th. Those are most likely Enchant Key eligible. Saturdays are blocked out, which makes it more possible for them to be open like they are here for Inspire on the 17th and 24th. But Sundays are sold out. That's Enchant Key. Speaking of which, let's look at that Enchant Key calendar. Now, I mentioned we're going to get back to that Sunday the 4th. What's interesting is that it is not a blockout day for Enchant. You can see Enchant is blocked out those Saturdays, all Saturdays in February. and the third Sunday in February. But the 4th, just 2 days from now, is not blocked out and is available. It's not often that you see a day that all keys are a weekend day, that is, where all keys are eligible, or at least the enchant key, and then have that day not booked out. Normally those days are gone, the weekend days are gone. What does this mean? Well, long story short, it means that Disney is allocating more days to Magic Keys. Now, they may not have been available right away, just like you're looking at it now where it says the 11th is sold out. But you come back next week, it's very likely, it's very possible that the 11th will become available. But they're giving more days to the Magic Key bucket than they would have even just a couple weeks ago or a month ago. That is as optimistic a calendar as I have seen in a little while here at Disneyland. Now, I know you're going to say, well, it's February. The calendar should be open. You're right, it should be. But that's also something that I would have said about last month, about January. But January wasn't open. There were all kinds of sold out days in January where I would have thought it was open. So I'm unsure if it's logical to make any kind of correlation between today and January. I think that there is some sort of change in policy that may be affecting how they handle the reservation calendar. That's actually something that we're going to hopefully get into later on in this show, because there are other things happening around the park and whispers and things that I'm hearing that suggest that we could be up for some changes here at Disneyland. Not immediate, but down the line. It's interesting because of all the things that are going on around the Disney company right now that seems like it's not going in their favor. This is actually the most optimistic I've been, just in general, not just about the parks, but about Disney. It's the most optimistic I've been in a little while, which is kind of nice. It feels good. So having said all that, we're gonna make our lap around the hub on our way to Adventureland to begin our report from inside the park. And again, we can see how wonderful it is to have that parade-ready energy for these guests on the curb waiting for that, what I believe, I'm assuming is a 3:30 parade. It's about 2:30 right now. So the timing feels about right there. It feels good, man. I love it. It's so great. It's so, you know what, I feel like I'm repeating myself because I do this all the time, but it's just so great to see people here at the park. I love it when it's crowded or not. Just having a good time, and seeing a parade at Disneyland is just about as good as it gets, am I right? I'm laughing because you can't hear it, I can. They're doing well, you know what, let's just go over there real quick. I want to see this. Mr. Smythe and Mr. Jones. I thought it might have been Willem, but I don't think it's Willem. No, but Mr. Smythe and Mr. Jones are opening their show here at the Royal Theater. Huzzah.
Wait a minute, what are you doing? You're speaking French? Why are you speaking French?
I thought it might be a good idea to,
Looks like it's the Beauty and the Beast.
Well, what time is it now?
That's what I thought. Actually, it's time for you to introduce our royal visitor.
Yes.
We.
The deepest pride and greatest pleasures, and we welcome you today. And now we're glad to give a royal welcome to our royal guest, the one and only Mademoiselle Belle.
My. There's so many Dole Whips out here right now. Everybody's got a Dole Whip. Okay, let's go to Adventureland. I wish I could get a Dole Whip right now. Maybe I should. I don't know. I mean, it's right there. Actually, it's mobile order only. Can you walk up? I don't even know. I know they used to be where you couldn't even walk up, or you can't anymore because it, lined up out here. I don't know what I'm talking about. That should be a thing a Disneyland expert knows, right? But they changed their policies on things like that so often. Well, it looks about normal, but it sure also does smell normal. I was going to say different, but the smell coming out of Bengal barbecue, you can almost see the smoke filling up the frame right now, the lens. Bengal smells so good. I'm going to lose my mind today of happiness. I'm in such a good mood doing this report today that I'm going to just be doing this all day. Oh my God, that's great. Oh my God, that's amazing. Like this, wait, 20 minutes at Jungle Cruise. I mean, that's great, right? You got the queue sticking out here a little bit, but there's nobody up there. Obviously, nobody back there, but nobody up there either. They haven't started using this part of the queue. They're only over there. Considering what I've seen so far in other parts of the park, we're going to get to that later. 20 minutes for Jungle Cruise is pretty great. 45 minutes right now for Indiana Jones. If that even. My goodness, look at all the emptiness back here. Look at that. And it's moving. I like to see the people moving around in there. It looks like it's going okay. I don't see anything, no action at all in Lightning Lane right now. I think there's just one guest getting ready to come. No, there's none. Oh no, there is one, yes. Wow. It's almost pure standby right now. That's terrific. Crowded in the streets, but okay so far in the queues. Opposite of what we have observed previously, like on a rainy day where it's quiet in the streets, crowded in the queues. That's why Disneyland is so good at that. Disneyland is so good at entertaining outside of the actual attraction. You don't see that a lot. You don't see that. Well, you do at Universal these days. They're getting better at that as well, where you feel like there's a lot of energy out in the streets, not just in the queues. Let's check out Pirates. That's kind of nothing so far. Well, it's posted at 35. Wow. Looking at that queue, though, I'm not sure if I see 35 minutes worth of guests here. It's about what you'd expect out here, which, by the way, they seem to have reacted correctly. One thing I've noticed since they moved to Genie Plus is that there's often a third row where there should only be two. There's the row, the line against the wall there, and then the one that's going this direction. But I've seen another one going this one. The back of the queue will often stick out into the walkway, and that causes a lot of congestion problems, specifically right here. There's a pinch point right here. And that happens, you get that pinch point, that crowd right here developing when they don't react quickly enough and sending guests out here deeper into New Orleans Square, which, as I've mentioned before, they've got the whole run of New Orleans Square now. They can put these guests basically wherever they want because there's no competition from the Haunted Mansion. But as I turn around, and having said that, there's no way that's 35 minutes. There's no way. It's just not. Even with a Lightning Lane competition, that's still just 25 minutes, I'm guessing. On that, I'm happy to report that there have been no signs of a Pirates of the Caribbean apocalypse. We were all very scared that Lightning Lane was going to destroy standby. It's not as good. It's obviously affected standby, but it's not so bad that you're shaking your fists and screaming at the clouds. It's still doable. It's still manageable. And this is why, the same thing with Mickey Minnie's Runaway Railway. These high-capacity attractions that can cycle guests quickly can absorb the effects of Lightning Lane. It's genius ride design. Yeah, see that? It's moving great. It's moving great.
No, don't.
I'm all about it. And normally, it's about this time when I would head around Cafe Orleans, make a right on Royal Street, and go through the back part of New Orleans Square. But I can't because they closed off that path because of the construction that's happening at the Haunted Mansion and the Disneyland Railroad. That construction right there. Hopefully you guys watched our last report. Tried to see over the wall a little bit, or our construction report that is. We have found so far that our best views are from the Tom Sawyer Island. Actually, you can see okay from Lafitte's Tavern, and then I get up there, and the treehouse, not all the way to the treehouse, obviously, because you can't get up there, but I go up to that area of the treehouse and see what I can see. It's blocked by a lot of trees, but you can at least get high enough to see a little something. Still waiting for the Mark Twain to come back, hoping for a decent view. What I like about the Mark Twain's possibilities is that while we get into this, it's the State of Disneyland Report. No, this is going to be a State of the Construction Report. Is getting the height on the Mark Twain, but also being a little closer. You get the height over here, you're a little high, but you're too far away, and you can't really see anything. That's closer. We're about a week away from the Mark Twain reopening, so by the time I do this, not the next construction report, but 2 from now, I'll be able to ride and see how good the view is there of the Haunted Mansion. You might be wondering, how long is this going to take? There's no date yet, obviously, from Disneyland, but the expectation is the entirety of the period between now and the next Halloween season. So we're looking for August 23rd. I don't imagine that they would open it up any earlier than that, because would you open it up? How would you open it up? As a Haunted Mansion holiday in July? Or would you put back the Haunted Mansion proper and then close it for another 2 weeks so they could put, it doesn't make any sense. So even if they're ready, they're just going to leave it closed and then open Haunted Mansion Holiday on August 23rd. By the way, Disney gave a tell on that, I should say. They started the Halloween season a week earlier than they normally do, which actually this past Halloween season was also, I think, a week earlier than they normally do. So now we're 2 weeks early. They did that because they could, you know what I mean? Like they were trying to get the attraction open as soon as possible, as soon as is reasonable. So August 23rd is reasonable, although they probably could have brought it down even another week, in my opinion. They start Halloween at Walt Disney World on the 1st of August, don't they? Don't they do their first Halloween parties 1st of August? So that's my guess. Haunted Mansion Holiday, August 23rd. As for Tiana's, we don't have a date on that either. End of the year, November, December. With that, we'll head into Critter Country. Every time I come through here, I feel a sense of pride and happiness that they're hanging in there, holding their head up high, even though they're down an attraction, a big one. Although things seem pretty quiet down here right now. Actually, look at that. Wow, it's like 3 in the afternoon right now. And guests are just walking right in. Look at that. They're going, oh my gosh. I mean, Winnie the Pooh is never busy. It's never a long wait, but I mean, there should be some people in here. Wow. This place is a delight. Did I do this last time? Did I come through here and talk about what a delight the 100-acre wood is? I think I did, but oh look, it's Winnie the Pooh. He's right here. That's what I'm talking about. Pure joy, that guy. Pure joy, Winnie the Pooh. Never had a bad word to say about anybody. Hi, Tigger. Good to see you. You're looking tall today. Love you, Tigger. Have fun today in Critter Country. I just had to. That's not a thing I typically do, but especially not in the State of Disneyland Report. But dang, man, Tigger was just standing there. I really have good thoughts, good feelings that Critter Country is going to survive this whole Tiana thing. I'm not sure if I mentioned that in yeah, I did. I did a video recently about some of the new reveals that were happening at Tiana's Bayou Adventure and some of the things said by the Imagineers who were working on or speaking about Tiana's at Magic Kingdom. And they're going out of their way to make a point about critters being in this attraction and how the critters are being a part of the show, the stars of the show. They were very specific about that word, and he said, we call them critters. And that tells me, in my logical brain, that they're trying to keep things connected to that critter mentality. New Orleans Square is not going to consume this attraction. I think this attraction will stay as part of Critter Country, and Critter Country will survive as a land. Brief moment of zen for you before we head into Galaxy's Edge. Check out Rise of the Resistance. It was pretty, I was here earlier, did construction recon earlier in the day today. It's my second trip around the park. And Galaxy's Edge was, or I should say Rise of the Resistance, was popping when I was here before. Not so much right now. This is kind of following the same theme that we've seen since we started. Jungle Cruise, Indy, Pirates, and I think that's everyone. Winnie the Pooh also, all quite rideable. The weights aren't too bad at all. And this looks to be about the same. I'd put this, if I were doing my recon brain out right now, I'd be calling this about 35 minutes. Back of the queue is in section 3. Looks, I mean, it doesn't look bad at all. I'm gonna guess posted it's at 60, but it won't be 60, not even. Oh, I take that back. As I say all the time, it is important in determining whether or not to get into an attractions queue is to don't just look at the tip board. Don't just look at the posted wait time. Also, don't just look at the back of the standby queue. Like that looked very promising. You also have to look at the Lightning Lane queue. And that is just about the sickest, the sickest Lightning Lane queue I have ever seen, maybe ever. I have never seen guests posted like this. I have to assume this is a post-breakdown type situation, but I don't think ever, in however many reps I come to, I look at this all the time. I look at Rise constantly, and I have never seen this in my life. And I don't know why they're doing this now. Why do all these Rise Lightning Lane guests want to get in this queue right now? It has to be a breakdown. They have to have collected post-breakdown. You see this, you just gotta run. Run like your shoes are on fire. And the net effect, by the way, is a 100-minute wait time. I don't know if you can see that. Now, it may not wind up being 100 minutes, but I would totally believe you if you said you got in that queue and waited 100 minutes. Though the standby guests are going to have to wait for every single one of those Lightning Lane. Now, luckily, you can cycle Lightning Lane pretty quickly. If you give it priority, it shouldn't take them too long. The fact, though, that they were just standing there, that's not a good look. So it's a 3-step process getting into a queue that has Lightning Lane. Check the tip board, check the back of the standby queue, check Lightning Lane. You have to do all 3. You don't do all 3, then you don't have all the information, you can't make an informed decision. With that, let's go ahead and do that tip board thing. Heading to Ronto Roasters to get our Tatooine Sunset. Check out the wait times, which I'm expecting to be not bad at all. Cheers, Fresh Bake. What do you got for me today, Jeannie? Alice in Wonderland, 15 minutes. Standard, Autopia, 5. There we go. Turn time in 20 minutes. Big Thunder, 40. A little higher than I would have expected based on what we're seeing, elsewhere around the park. Return time in nearly 2 hours. Buzz Lightyear, 15. With the return time of now. Casey is 15. Are they running 2 trains again? I'm going to say that's still a 1-train situation at 15 minutes. Gadget's Coaster. I'm just not going to say Chippendale. No offense to Chippendale. Gadget's Coaster at 30 minutes. Standard. Dumbo, 20 minutes. That is light. I can't wait to see how accurate that is, but 20 minutes is light for Dumbo. Finding 10 minutes for Nemo? And it really is winter. 10 minutes. Again, I don't believe you. Genie, I don't believe you. Indiana Jones, 45, with return time in 5 hours. Not bad. Small World, 5. Wow, you know, if we have enough daylight near the end of this show, I might stop by Small World. I like to try to hit at least one ride while doing these State of Disneyland reports, but I gotta also try to make sure I finish before daylight runs out, and it's 3:20 right now, so I don't know. Jungle Cruise 20, that's a long attraction too. The wait's easy, but you know, it's a 15-minute ride-ish. Mad Tea Party is almost a walk-on. Winnie the Pooh, there we go, there's that 5 minutes. It's not even that, it's not even 5 minutes. Matterhorn is 40. Remember that. Remember that. Matter of fact, I'm gonna show you guys something right now. Check this out. This happened a couple hours ago this afternoon. The wild thing is that in about 2 hours, you're gonna have a 20 or 30-minute wait. Magic Happens comes back today, and a bunch of people are gonna be out there in the parade corridor watching that and not in the Matterhorn queue. Come back another time, you guys. You don't have to get in a 100-minute queue at the Matterhorn. And I said, right? I said, come back. Come back in a couple hours. It'll be fine. And it might even go down from there. It is now, it's 3:20. The parade, this is the parade effect. The parade is siphoning off guests from that queue right now. I'm not gonna get to see that parade today. I was hoping to get that into the show, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Runaway Railway is 25 minutes, but look at Genie Plus, 7 hours. Wow. Wow. Like, if you really wanted to ride Mickey Minnie's Runaway Railway right now, would you book that? Or would you just get in the 25-minute standby? Because you know it's not even going to be that. I might just book that. I don't know. I mean, I might just get in that queue. Mixed Magic tonight. Fireworks, guys. That's great. We've got Mixed Magic happening with fireworks today and a parade. It's like going to Disneyland. What in the world is Smuggler's Run doing at 15 minutes? I almost did a spit take with my Tatooine Sunset just now. Wow. 15 minutes. I'm so tempted. I wish I had more time. I need to do these State of Disneyland reports when I'm not also doing another video, but I consolidate these so that I can make other trips to places like Knott's Berry Farm and Universal Studios, which I'm doing on Sunday. I'm going to Universal on Sunday again. Stay tuned. I hope you guys don't mind me going to Universal, but I'm going to do it anyway. Peter Pan is 30. I mean, it is a February afternoon, isn't it? How did Pirates get all the way down to 10 minutes? Guys, it's practically no effect at all. Lightning Lane is practically no effect at all on Pirates. Good for you, Pirates. And good for Disney, I guess, right? Should we go ahead and say, what's that Shaquille O'Neal meme? I didn't fully understand your game. Maybe they do know what they're doing after all. You know, we're going to talk about that. That's normally something that I'll do after I do these tip board commentaries. Is I'll talk about the key news item, and this is something that I want to get into. So stay tuned after this tip board discussion as we make our way to Fantasyland. I have a conversation for you. Space Mountain, now that's standard. An hour and a return time of 4 hours. Good for you. Star Tours is 15. Rise is up to 120 now. It was at 100. Now it went up to 120. I sure hope you guys didn't get in that queue. I really hope you didn't get in that queue right now. Just like I hope you didn't get in that standby queue at Matterhorn. I hope you didn't. You guys listen to me. Okay, that's it. That's the whole thing. Now, about Smuggler's Run. Oh, man. I so wish I could get in that queue right now. Let's go see what's up. It does say 15 minutes, but as we mentioned in our last State of Disneyland report, the one little point where we can spy on the queue up there, they look a little stuck up there. They're posted. They're leaning up against the glass. They're relaxing. In other words, they're not moving, which means the queue is kind of stuck, which means maybe it's not 15 minutes. Actually, Hi, how are you? Hi, good. It could be the case that people have already reacted to those, you know, you see a 15, you want to get in that. And that's something that happens a lot. We talk about that, doing the opposite. You see a lower than expected wait time, that's when people run. Do the opposite. Although I'm not really sure if today is the day for that. You do that on a busy day, but on a day where it's pretty much light across the board, it may not be necessary to overthink the game in that sense. It may be appropriate on a day like this to just do what's normal. But you should still be looking at all three facets of a Lightning Lane queue. You should be looking at the posted wait time, the back of the standby, and the back of the Lightning Lane. Now, I teased something that I want to talk about when we're doing the tip board. Hearing whispers. Hey, how are you? I'm hearing things. The things that I'm hearing is that there could be things being shook up a little bit at Disneyland here specifically, not in the Disney company, but here at Disneyland. Well, possibly, now that I think about this, could extend into Walt Disney World as well. Disney may be finally reacting to the negativity that has been surrounding the Magic Key program and the reservation system, really park operations in general. Recently we noticed the permits that were filed for the update to the gates out there, the front gates, in our construction report. That could be an early signal of some operational changes that are coming from the team that handles that kind of thing. And that team also works on crowd flow. They work on how guests interact in the park, how the park interacts with the guests, I should say, or either way, which it would include programs like Magic Key and reservation system. It is my understanding that there has been some, what's the word we're looking for? Transition happening in those ranks, and that they are looking for voices, opinions, ideas from people who worked at the park back in the day, pre-COVID. Now the front gate change, that has anything to do with Magic Keys, obviously. But I guess the reason why I mention that is because it's the first indication that we've seen in the parks where Disney has changing operational attitudes. That system has been in place for a very long time, whereas the system in place at Walt Disney World with the magic bands has been in place for years. I mean, for as long as there's been a magic band, they've had those scanners at Walt Disney World. We've got magic bands here. Why they didn't bring the scanners with them or do any of the things that the magic bands can do at Walt Disney World, I should say, well, not any of them. I mean, there's so little. There's so not a reason to own a magic band that it makes you wonder, it was obviously just meant to make money without having the guests in mind when they made that choice. And it's that kind of thinking that is starting to change, I think. It's that kind of thinking where they are realizing that there are consequences, that guests are making choices that is affecting Disney's ability to fill the parks or to even just make revenue where they may have made it before. Look at what's happening with Shop Disney right now. Shop Disney has just laid off a couple hundred cast members, and now I think I saw a report that they're even changing the name. They're going back to the Disney Store. And what is that but a nod, a reflection to Disney's past? What other possible reason they could have for wanting to change the name? I can't think of. Now, there are reasons why you want to change how things are being done with Shop Disney, because, all right, Obviously, they're not selling enough merch. There's been a change in the attitude that guests have about Disney merch. The Disney brand obviously isn't what it was even a couple years ago. It's not like it's failing or it has failed, but it's incrementally less than it was. But when you make a move like that, changing the name, it's because you want people to remember what it was like to be a Disney fan in the past. People think very fondly of the Disney store. You still see it on Twitter today, reminiscing. They're seeing like, what stores are left. So that plus the gates, I think Disney's trying to, it could be that Disney is starting to reassess how they interact with their fans and the guests. So I would begin to look for small changes like what we're seeing out here in the gates, and that's a small change. But look for operational changes. We're going to keep an eye out for that kind of thing. And then on a long enough timeline, we will get to the point, I think, where they will end the reservation system and maybe even change, hey, how are you? How they deal with Genie Plus. It seems hard to believe that they would do that they would change Genie Plus. That's why I don't expect it to happen right away. They're going to do it incrementally. They're going to do it in small stages, I would imagine. Kind of like what they're doing in the reservation system right now at Walt Disney World. They're not just going to wholesale upend it. But over time, I can see that happening because the truth is, they are not making more money, bottom line, at the end of the day, with the Genie Plus. They're selling Genie Plus, and they're making X dollars off those sales, but those earnings are being offset by the changes in their purchasing decisions elsewhere in the park. So it's a net zero for them. It's a net zero on the bottom line, plus people are pissed. So why keep it? And this is the reason why they've been talking about monetizing FastPass for decades. And they for the longest time, they didn't do it. They resisted because there was intelligence out there. There was research done that said, sure, you can make some money, but it won't out-earn the loss of credibility, the loss of goodwill with the guests. And on a long enough timeline, you will wind up losing money instead of earning money. And at some point, Disney said, screw that, we're still going to do it. And now they're regretting that decision, I think. And that was a lot. That was a lot, I'm sure. I actually did a whole lap already around Fantasyland. So we're going to start all over and talk about the attractions. But you got to say, that this is why I'm optimistic. Because I feel like there's a possibility that attitudes are changing. Pinocchio's Daring Journey is standard. I'm optimistic because I think that the good thing about Disney, and I want Disney to succeed, the good thing about Disneyland is that we guests here are a hardy bunch. We can tolerate a lot. We can tolerate a lot because this place is so dang awesome that it's difficult for us to say no. So it helps keep Disney afloat. But eventually they're going to have to change how they operate, eventually. Because it will eventually have an effect. Hi guys. Posted as 10 minutes, but that's not 10 minutes, that's more than that. They need to adjust that. That's probably 20, I'm guessing at least. Peter Pan said 30. Let me check the dip board. I said dip. Tip board. That's about right. Maybe now it's probably closer to 40 now. Yeah, that board says 40. Did we even notice toads? I don't remember even looking at toads. That's right, I wanted to check Casey Jr. and Dumbo also. So let's keep moving. But Toads is standard. Toads is what it always is. Never be afraid of Toads. That's actually kind of packed. That's kind of packed. It's about ready to bust out of the proper queue and out here into the walkway. Good for you, Toads. Good for you. Take that ride, and I will lose my ish. Let's see. Dumbo says 20. We saw something like that on the tip board. But I can't get up there close because there's so many people. You know what? Let's go around this way. We got over to Casey Jr. anyway. No, that's not 20. Not even close. That could be double that. That could be 40. People have reacted. People have responded to seeing Dumbo at 20 and they've gotten in the queue. It happens to all attractions, not just the big popular ones. It happens everywhere. 20 minutes is way too light for Dumbo. Matter of fact, I think I said 15 when we were at the tip board. With this little piece of magic, we'll definitely not stay at 15 or 20 minutes. It'll jump up to 40 easily. And that's when they're using all this queue back here. You know that's not, I mean, it's at least 30. Meanwhile, Casey Jr. said 15 on the tip board. That's a pretty deep queue. It's down the steps. If it's one train, it's not 15. And there should, if there's two trains, there should be one in the station now. There's one up there right now. I mean, there should be another train in the station. Yeah. I think they're running just one train. Yeah, just one train. By the way, before we move on, look at this VIP and DAS queue. That's pretty long. That's a long queue for Casey Jr. Teacups though, that's still 5 minutes. One rotation, maybe, no, 2 rotations here at the Teacups. So not 5, more like 12. It's a 12-minute wait at the Teacups. And Fantasyland makes me so happy. I had forgotten. I was on such a high when we started this show today. I was like, yeah, Disneyland, I'm so happy. Everything's going great. And then we kind of got into things and started talking ops and, you know, things like that. And I lost that enthusiasm. Not that I mean, not for real, but it's part of the show anyway. But walking through Fantasyland just now and having had that conversation, man, now I'm feeling it again. Fantasyland's awesome. It happened. As soon as I got through that threshold and I heard that music, I was just like, it's gonna happen again. I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna lose my It's just so good. It makes me so happy. I love Toontown. Don't do it. Not this time. Don't go on and on about how much you love Toontown. Man. All right. We saw a 25-minute standby and a 7-hour return time for Mickey and Minnie. Look at this. You guys, look at that. It's so great. Okay, sorry. It is, yeah, it's not 25. It's not even 45. 45 is the door, and that's without Lightning Lane. That's 50, 55 if you're not getting too much influence from Lightning Lane. But I did just see a bunch of people. I would just love to do a time lapse of the Lightning Lane side and just see how many guests go through there in, let's say, 15 minutes. Just gonna stand here for a second. It's not that bad. 7 hours though. 7 hours means there's going to be a constant flow of guests going through that Lightning Lane queue. Constant, no breaks, no time off. It's not gonna let up because all those time slots are booked up. So good luck to your standby folks. Look at that queue for minis. Look at the size of that queue. 30 minutes posted. It could be. It all depends on the guests. And I tell you what, I feel like the queue gets longer if she's meeting guests in the living room as opposed to out here at the tea party. I feel like this is a quicker meet and greet. And that's actually the one I prefer. I've mentioned that before, but I prefer that one. Mickey's is 30 minutes. Gadgets Go Coaster, 30 minutes. There he is. They are. Pretty standard. 30 minutes is about what you're gonna get on Gadgets on most days. Roger Rabbit also standard at 60 minutes. I feel like I could do updates from Toontown in my sleep. It's just the most consistent thing ever. It really is. No matter what's happening outside in the rest of the park, Toontown is gonna be what it is, and that's busy with a 60-minute wait for Roger Rabbit and a 45-minute wait for Mickey Minnie's Runaway Railway, and it's gonna be packed, and it's gonna be just like the weather in LA, 72 and sunny, or partly cloudy, and overcast burning off. Okay, we escaped from Toontown, found ourselves back in Fantasyland and checking in on Small World. Indeed, the posted wait time still says 5 o'clock. Ooh, they just turned the light on. 5 o'clock, and it's practically a walk-on. It's not even that. Gosh, I would love to get in this right now, but we are in fact running out of daylight. I still have to head to DCA today, so, but look at that. Look at, nothing. I love that all these people that chose Small World today. They chose Small World right now. Love it. Selfies being taken everywhere. Oh, it's so good. I'm really looking forward to seeing what the Matterhorn looks like right now. This is a good sign right here. When we walked by here a couple hours ago, this whole queue was full. Wall-to-wall guests in here, and it was out into the walkway getting ready to go out there into the parade corridor. So they eventually cleared all that lightning lane. So you should see some positive effects on standby, as we saw on the tip board, 40 minutes. It is still at 40. Now this queue is actually about twice as big as the standby queue was when we came by here when it was at 100. But it's still 40 because there's no lightning lane. There you go. There you go. You know the rules, Fresh Baked. I think I owe the Nemo subs a ride through soon. I made a promise a long time ago. I'll ride that attraction every week if it means it sticks around. They keep the lagoon and they keep the Nemo subs. I haven't been able to keep up with that. I mean, today's the day, really, because the queue, I'm expecting it to be short. That's what the tip board said. Tip board said 10 minutes, but no, that's not happening. That's another one of those, just like Dumbo. The crowds have reacted. That's 30. Even if they're running 2 submarines, that's 30. Board says 20, though. I mean, it could be, I guess. I haven't done any kind of serious analysis of that queue and how, I mean, I'm just guessing based on my experience. I haven't got any sort of data to back that up, but 20 seems light for the length of that queue. Heading back to Autopian, I can already feel, look, there's nobody here. What are the odds, man? This is one of those places where you always feel like people just kind of sort of collect and loiter here. That's interesting. But I'm surprised to see a 30-minute wait time right here. 30 minutes. They're running all 4 lanes. The queue is kind of backed up back there. Kinda. I've seen it much worse than that. I'd get in that queue. With all 4 lanes running, I'd get in that queue. And Tomorrowland. Hi. Sorry, I'm just going to enjoy that music for a second. It's just so great. Okay, posted wait time for Space Mountain is 60 minutes, which I'm not going to go up there and look today, but I would have to assume that that's pretty accurate standard, really, for Space Mountain. That says 20 minutes up there for Astro Orbiter or Astro Blasters. But I don't think I would get in this queue. Lightning Lane is backed up and it's stuck. That's the inner line back there. Meanwhile, standby is no bargain either. I don't believe that's 20 minutes. I believe that's 30 or 40. I'm going to do a video soon where I'm going to look for queues like that. Queues where I feel like, you know, it's wrong on the low side, where Disney has it posted at 20, but it actually looks like it's closer to 30 or 40. I'm gonna do an analysis on that, compile a bunch of those as part of a conversation about, there's this conspiracy theory or idea that Disney is artificially inflating standby wait times on Genie Plus attractions, Lightning Lanes, in order to sell more Lightning Lanes. And it's logical. It's a logical thing to assume, but I feel like there's a bit of confirmation bias happening in that conversation where people will only observe those situations where it is higher than the posted wait time is higher than the actual wait time, and they're ignoring situations like that where the posted wait time is lower than it should be. I want to know what the preponderance is. Because if they were doing that, you would never see a situation like that. You just never would. You would never see a posted wait time of 20 when it's actually 30 or 40. Never. And that's the Disney difference right there. I talk about this often, the transition, the music transition. That's one of those places where you hear it the best. Going from Main Street to Frontierland. It's one of those je ne sais quoi moments when people say, why is Disneyland so good? Why do people like Disneyland better than other parks? That's one of the reasons why. You can't really identify it. Sometimes it's hard to articulate. You know, you're not going to make a list and say, the music transitions are better. You know, like there's nobody doing that. You just kind of know. You just kind of feel it in your bones. And like, yeah, that's better. And it makes a difference. But I'm here to tell you, I could make a list of things like that. I come here enough, and I'm observant enough, right? I think I could. But that is definitely one of those. That is a Disneyland difference right there, the music transitions between lands. And with that, we have arrived at Big Thunder. 45 minutes posted. Pretty standard for Big Thunder. I mean, it's the same thing every time. This is like going to Toontown. Big Thunder is self-regulating. When's the last time you saw Big Thunder greater than 60? Am I right? I can't remember the last time I saw a 70-minute standby wait time for Big Thunder. I can't ever. It's, you know, sometimes it gets up to 60, but usually, you know, 45. On a low end, 30 or 25 or something like that, but it's never more than 60 because it's self-regulating. There's a limit to how long people are willing to wait for Big Thunder. There's just a limit. Hey, look where we are. I don't even know what they call this. We're in that little dining or seating area next to the docks for the Mark Twain in the Columbia, where I have chosen to end this show on a few occasions recently. And that's where we are right now. Final thoughts. Still a pretty busy day, in spite of the fact that we saw some attractions with lower than expected wait times. There was still a lot of density out there in the parks. People are still showing up. Disney's done a great job of leveling out crowd levels in less demand months like February. We just came back from Knott's Berry Farm and it was empty. You could count the guests at Knott's Berry Farm the other day when we were there. So that is certainly not the case here at Disneyland. Disneyland has not skipped a beat, nor did Universal for that matter. A little bit less busy than usual, but no, they're doing great here on this February day. But this is the most optimistic, as I mentioned earlier, that I have been about the Disney company and about Disneyland in a while. I feel like there are changes coming. The winds are changing. I don't know what precipitated that. It could be the Shop Disney situation, or if it happened before, or if the Shop Disney situation is part of their new thought processes. I'm going to be interested to see how things happen over the next, I'm going to give it 6 months to a year, but we're going to keep our eyes open every week and looking for operational changes that suggest that they're thinking about the guests, they're thinking about you, and they're putting you in their mind instead of just trying to make money. Magic bands, as we talked about earlier. I've always been mystified by that rollout, the Magic Band rollout, because they launched with nothing, practically nothing, and have done nothing with Magic Bands since then. There's been no evolution on that, and nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about that. It's wild. I should be able to do a lot more with those Magic Bands if you want me to consider them part of my Disney going experience. Stay tuned though. Stay tuned, because I think it's going to happen. We're going to keep our eyes open, keep looking. Until then, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do consider joining our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/freshbake. Or you can follow us on Instagram at _freshbake, on Twitter at freshbakedisney, that's fresh with no E, and on TikTok at freshbakedisney. Otherwise, we love you. Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. Fresh Bake.
I'm not this stuff. I just literally